Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 138, Chikorita's Big Upset. The episode begins not with Ash and the gang walking through a forest for once, but instead, a Pokemon battle. Ash was battling against a random-ass school kid. He was using Chikorita, and the school kid was using his Raticate. The battle began with them both tackling each other, and Ash telling Chikorita to use a second one, with the boy telling his Raticate to use a Hyper Fang. Unfortunately for Chikorita, the Hyper Fang makes contact first, which sends her flying, but she gets back up immediately and tries to attack again. But the boy attacks first, using Quick Attack, which knocks Chikorita back once again. She gets up for a third time though, damn she's persistent. But Ash insists that Chikorita return to her Pokeball, thinking that she wouldn't be able to take many more hits. Chikorita absolutely refused though, not wanting to give up and wanting to impress Ash. Brock, even though he should totally realize, due to being an expert in simping, questions why Chikorita was refusing to return, when it was obvious that she was trying to impress Ash. Chikorita then hits the Raticate dead on with a Razor Leaf, hoping that that would convince Ash that she was still fine enough to battle, and while Ash commends Chikorita on the effort, he still insists on returning her, suggesting that she could take a break and Pikachu could take over. Hearing the mere word Pikachu, though, just makes Chikorita want to refuse returning to the Pokeball even more, since she obviously viewed Pikachu as her biggest enemy due to Pikachu always being the one who got most of Ash's affection, so she dodges the return beam from the Pokeball. Ash continues to return her until fucking night falls, leaving the boy just standing there with his Raticate being like, "What the fuck are you doing, man? Let's battle." Due to how late it was getting, the little schoolboy's mother calls him in for dinner, and the boy recalls his Raticate and begins to head inside. Ash yells at him for abandoning the battle, but the boy's like, "Oh, so now you want to battle, bro? We've just been sitting here all day. I don't fucking care anymore," and he goes into his house. With no more challenger to face, Chikorita finally gives in and returns to the Pokeball, as Ash questions what the fuck was up with Chikorita and why it didn't want to return, oblivious to her jealousy. Due to how late it was getting, Ash and the gang then decide to stay at a Pokemon Center for the night, and Ash uses one of the center's computers to call Professor Oak and tell him about his recent accomplishments, such as how he just beat the Violet Gym. Although Oak is glad to hear that Ash was doing so well, he tries to get in a word edgewise about the GS ball, reminding him about his request in case Ash had forgot. But just as he does, Muck then comes up to Oak and does his usual smother, with Oak commenting that Muck particularly liked to smother at dinner time for some reason. Speaking of dinner time, all of Ash's Pokemon were happily eating Pokemon food at the Pokemon Center, with the exception of Ash's Chikorita, as it was still bitchy from earlier, sitting by herself at a window. Ash once again questioned what was wrong, as Pikachu went up to her and tried to comfort her by giving it some of his food. However, the Chikorita, obviously despising Pikachu, swatted the food away with her leaf. Ash once again questions what the fuck was wrong, leading a Nurse Joy, who was wearing glasses and revealed herself to be from Celadon University, walked up to them and clarified that she had a degree in psychology, being what she went to university for, and therefore knew all about how a Pokemon's behavior was driven by their psychology, stating that she could find out what was wrong with Ash's Chikorita if he permitted her to ask him a few questions. Essentially, she was offering Ash a free counseling session, so he obviously accepted, wanting to figure out what the fuck was up. After Ash answers several of Nurse Joy's questions regarding Chikorita's behavior, such as how it acted around Pikachu, Nurse Joy comes to the conclusion that Chikorita was jealous of Pikachu. Wow, no shit, I didn't know you had to be a grade A psychologist to figure that out. Nurse Joy states her main reasoning for assuming jealousy was the cause of Chikorita's unhappiness was back when Chikorita was battling against the Raticate and Ash suggested to send in Pikachu instead, it made Chikorita think that Ash cared for Pikachu more than her, which pissed her the fuck off. Once again, no shit. Ash feels bad for how he treated Chikorita, not intending for her to take it as an offense, and he asks Nurse Joy what he can do to improve Chikorita's mood. This leads Nurse Joy to take Ash and the gang and Chikorita to a greenhouse in the Pokemon Center. She insists that leaving Chikorita in the greenhouse for the night, surrounded by all the plants, would calm her down, as, you know, she was a grass-type Pokemon, and grass-type Pokemon loved plants. A desperate Ash decides to go through with Nurse Joy's suggestion, and recalls Chikorita and gives Nurse Joy her Pokeball, as Nurse Joy places it on a table surrounded by a whole bunch of plants. Chikorita then stayed in the greenhouse for the night, as Ash and the gang went to sleep at the Pokemon Center. However, Pikachu woke up in the middle of the night, and due to feeling responsible for Chikorita's behavior, due to it being jealous of it, he decided to go check up on Chikorita and try to apologize to it. When he arrived in the greenhouse, he saw Chikorita's Pokeball sitting on a table, and eventually it popped open as Chikorita came out. She clearly wasn't that enticed by all of the plants though, as when she spotted that one of the sliding doors to enter the greenhouse was open, she immediately ran out through the door, with Pikachu chasing her, trying to get her attention. As both the Pokemon ran out, this footage was being captured on a security camera, unbeknownst to them. Pikachu eventually caught up with Chikorita and tried to talk to it, but Chikorita wasn't willing to listen, as it simply attacked Pikachu with its Razor Leaf, causing it to fall over and allowing Chikorita to run into a field of tall grass. Pikachu got up and followed, but Chikorita hid in the grass, leading Pikachu to run right past it without noticing it. As Chikorita continues trekking onwards, she finds an abandoned warehouse that had a box in it, and she decides to sleep on the box, now finally trying to relax after being free from Pikachu's chase. However, she wasn't alone, as a gang of 4 fighting-type Pokemon, being Machoke, Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, and Primeape, cornered her, and Primeape proceeded to attack, because this warehouse was their home. Chikorita initially tried to ignore the fighting Pokemon, as she just wanted to go back to sleep, but the attacks became too relentless, so Chikorita attacked Primeape with her Vine Whip. This didn't make the other fighting Pokemon mad though, this actually made them respect Chikorita for her strength, as they bowed down to her, kind of accepting them as their new leader, as opposed to the Primeape. It appeared Chikorita had made some new friends. The next morning, the Nurse Joy was checking the security cameras and showed Ash and the gang the footage of Chikorita and Pikachu leaving, as Ash had obviously woken up concerned that morning when Pikachu wasn't next to him. Nurse Joy then states her belief of why Chikorita left, believing it was because since it wanted Ash's attention, it believed that running away was a great way to get it. Ash then correctly assumes that Pikachu must have left because it felt bad for essentially starting the whole situation and went after Chikorita because of that. This makes Ash feel bad, wishing that he could have understood his Pokemon better so that he knew that Chikorita was jealous so he could have avoided this whole situation. Nurse Joy reminds Ash not to blame himself though, as that wasn't going to fucking get him anywhere. What was going to help was if Ash and the gang could go out and find where Chikorita and Pikachu had gone. She then warns them of Pokemon gangs in the area, and they head out, not realizing that Pokemon gangs would be the least of their goddamn problems. Anyways, Ash and the gang look around the town for a little while, but are unable to find Pikachu or Chikorita, so Brock suggests that he send out Bulbasaur and see if Bulbasaur can track Chikorita's scent, due to them both being grass types, adding that wherever Chikorita was, Pikachu would likely be close by. So, Ash sends out his Bulbasaur as he begins to search for the scent. Unbeknownst to Ash and the gang though, Team Rocket were spying on them, of course. Meowth from the Meowth Balloon, and Jessie and James from a nearby alleyway. After hearing that Pikachu and Chikorita were missing, they realized that this would be the perfect opportunity for them to capture them if they could find them before Ash and the gang did. So, James radios Meowth over a walkie-talkie, telling him the fact that Pikachu was missing, and as if on cue, Meowth spots Pikachu in some tall grass from the Meowth Balloon. This tall grass was the same grass that led to the warehouse that Chikorita and the gang were currently at, so Pikachu quickly stumbled inside the warehouse, only to find it empty. He called out for Chikorita, and eventually she came out. Pikachu pleaded with her to come back with him, but the Chikorita refused, and before Pikachu could try to convince her again, Team Rocket then showed up, performing their motto, stating their plan to steal Pikachu and Chikorita, even though there was no humans in the goddamn building. There was only Pikachu, Chikorita, and the gang. So when Team Rocket threw a net to capture Pikachu and Chikorita, Primeape jumped out of hiding and knocked it away. Chikorita had also earned his respect, not just the other gang members. Speaking of the other gang members, they then joined in on attacking Team Rocket, to the point where Team Rocket had fallen to the ground, begging for mercy. Thankfully for Jessie and James, Meowth was still fully capable in the Meowth Balloon, as he revealed his secret weapon, pulling out a remote control, which caused a mech to come out of the warehouse's roof. The mech was very tall, and was made entirely out of old tires from the warehouse. So was this warehouse a secret Team Rocket base this whole time, and we just didn't even know? I don't know, man. But what's important is that, as Ash, Brock, and Misty were searching, they saw the mech rise out of the warehouse in the distance, and immediately ran towards it. As they ran further up, they also spotted Team Rocket's Meowth Balloon, confirming to them that Team Rocket was involved. Meanwhile, with the warehouse now destroyed, Chikorita, Pikachu, and the gang made their escape, and Team Rocket made their escape as well, being pulled up to the Meowth Balloon with ropes, thanks to Meowth, although they only made it up about halfway, since they wanted to have a good view of what was currently unfolding. As for what was currently unfolding, Chikorita's gang of fighting types was getting their ass absolutely handed to them by the robot after Chikorita had ordered them to attack it. Chikorita runs up to give the robot an attack of her own, being a tackle, but she's almost stepped on by the robot, so she backs away. Pikachu then tries to attack as well using Thunderbolt, but Meowth laughs, as the mech was electric-proof. Nice. Unbeknownst to him, though, even though the robot was unaffected by the electricity, Jessie and James were hit by it, much to their annoyance. The robot then approaches Pikachu and scoops it up in its huge robotic hand. Chikorita tries to fight back with a razor leaf, but the robot simply picks it up as well, right as Ash and the gang arrive on the scene. As soon as they arrive, Brock notices a satellite dish at the top of the robot and determines that that must be how Meowth was controlling it, so he instructs Ash to break it somehow. Ash comes up with an idea as he sends out Heracross, who immediately tries to suck the pollen out of Bulbasaur's bulb, leading Bulbasaur to strike him with a Vine Whip. As Heracross and Bulbasaur were fighting, Misty questioned Ash what he planned to do, with Ash revealing that he planned for Heracross to throw him up into the air with his horn toss attack, and hopefully he would land on the robot's head so that he could take out the satellite dish. Misty's like, no, that's too reckless and dangerous. And Ash is like, but I'm the protagonist, bitch. I have plot armor. No, I'm joking. He's just like, but I really want to save Pikachu and Chikorita. And once Heracross and Bulbasaur were done fighting, Ash has Heracross launch him into the air. And unfortunately, he, in fact, misses the robot as Meowth moves it out of the way just in time, causing him to fall in a nearby pile of leftover tires from the warehouse explosion. Ash gets his ass up and sees the robot walking away with his two Pokemon still in its hands, but he also sees a water tower nearby, and therefore gets another idea as he goes up to the top of it and tries to jump on the robot once again as it passes by. But, of course, he misses for the second time, since Meowth simply moved the robot out of the way again. This time, though, Chikorita was able to pull off a Deus Ex Machina moment, and caught Ash before he fell to the ground with her Vine Whip, and although it was difficult for her small body, she was able to lift him up to the robot's head, allowing him to go up to the satellite dish and destroy it. This obviously causes Meowth to lose control of the robot, and as a result, it goes completely into autopilot mode, doing whatever random shit it pleases, including releasing Chikorita and Pikachu from its hands as they fall to the ground, and be caught by Ash, who returns over to Brock and Misty. The robot then randomly decides to go over to the Meowth balloon and grabs hold of the ropes that Jessie and James were on. Since the ropes were attached to the balloon, Meowth was worried that the robot was going to absolutely destroy it, so he decided to cut the ropes with his claws, not caring about what happened to Jessie and James. But unfortunately this backfires for him, as Jessie and James land on the robot's head, which causes it to explode, since it was already haywire after losing control from Meowth. As a result of the explosion, Team Rocket were of course blasted off, with Ash, Misty, Brock, Pikachu, and Chikorita watching. Ash makes sure to congratulate Pikachu and Chikorita equally, and he bends down to pet both of them for the exact amount of time, making Pikachu and Chikorita both happy and getting rid of Chikorita's jealousy. Yay! Chikorita then says goodbye to the fighting Pokemon gang, putting Primeape back in charge, as she goes back to the Pokemon Center with Ash and the gang, where they meet up with the Nurse Joy and thank her for all their assistance, with Ash informing her that Chikorita's jealousy was now gone. Nurse Joy then asks Ash if she could keep Chikorita for a little bit to study her psyche, wanting to know more about what could potentially make a Pokemon jealous. However, Ash declines for once, not willing to give up the Pokemon that he had just got back. Just then, though, Brock butts in and states that Nurse Joy could study his psyche if she wanted, doing anything to be close to a Nurse Joy. However, Misty pulls him away, stating that there was no need for Brock's psyche to be evaluated, as everyone already knew he was psycho. Damn. The episode then ends with Ash and the gang saying goodbye to Nurse Joy, as Ash instructs Pikachu to get on his shoulder as usual. This upsets the Chikorita, making her a bit jealous. Oh no, did this whole episode mean nothing? No, I'm just kidding, because Ash then tells Chikorita to get on his shoulder as well, on the other side, making Chikorita happy. Pikachu and Chikorita both had a spot now.